Hi, my name is Linda Porter, and in this film I am introducing you to encaustic art and meditation. Now, this enthralling technique is amazing, not only for the simplicity and ease with which you can produce a masterpiece, but what that masterpiece can tell you when you allow the process to speak to you. The beauty and the communication speaks through the shapes and colours that you can create on paper as your higher or guiding self communicates with your subconscious self, and then the joy of allowing your conscious aware self to enjoy a sense of pride and accomplishment. In this 3-part video, we're going to look at how you get started with this technique. Where it takes you is up to you. In part 1, I'll explain how to get started with encaustic art and look at some examples I produced when I very first started working with this incredible medium for creative and spiritual expression. Part 2 introduces Keely Pearson, who has been working successfully with this technique for some time now. She sells her artwork from her website and from art and craft fairs. Part 3 introduces Maureen Ansell. Maureen is a spiritualist medium and uses this technique in readings that she gives. Now, I've had the privilege of a reading with Maureen which was incredibly accurate. She asked me to bring a flower from my garden, and from reading this she gave me some incredible and personal messages from Pat, my mother. She's in spirit now, and is the person whom the concept of Pat's garden was named after, so how fitting that she should come through to me in this way. Maureen also asked me to choose 2 colours. Later she pressed the flower for me and made me a personal card with an encaustic piece of artwork from the colours I had chosen, some beautiful writings on those colours. It was a powerful and amazing experience. Maureen can be contacted for readings and encaustic artwork, which very often depicts guides via her website. So, what is encaustic? This term relates to creating art using wax. It is a technique that dates many thousands of years, and there are as many ways to go about it as there are people working with this artistic medium. Firstly, you do need to get some basic materials and tools, and you can get the basics and then, like myself, just add to them over time. Firstly, you need to get some different coloured waxes. Rumour has it that you can use children's wax crayons, but I wouldn't recommend it. It can get very messy and the colours aren't very pure. You are much better off investing in the professional wax blocks that are available and building up your own palette over time as you get familiar with working with encaustic. You will also need a small craft iron. This is a variable temperature sensitive tool, and as you practice you'll get used to using the iron as an art or drawing painting tool. You can get a stylus to use with your wax, and you can add different attachments to this. This can give you a finer and more precise detail to your work. You'll need to get some specially coated paper which doesn't absorb the hot wax, but allows it to cool on the paper in a very true way to how you paint it on. Preparing a work area. You will need a table that it's comfortable to work from. You will need a cover for this to protect the table surface. I use a plastic cover, so it doesn't matter if things do get a bit messy. But I do also use a newspaper to place my special coated encaustic art paper over. I always have a kitchen roll towel available to mop up with and to clean the base of the iron when I want to change colours. You will need a basic palette of colours to get started with, which you can then add to over time, as I mentioned earlier. You will need a craft iron. You can also get a heated stylus pen, and this is a bit like a soldering iron, but you can get different attachments for different effects on your encaustic wax picture. You can get a sealant to wipe over your picture when it is dry. This shines your picture up a bit and offers a layer of protection to it. There are books that are helpful. Now, interestingly, Maureen and I both recommend books by the same author, Michael Bossum. We had both bought the same author to the filming session, and interestingly, we had both brought different books by him. He does also produce a lot of very good films on YouTube. You will, of course, also need some special coated paper. Now, my very first encaustic art, when I did get started, was great. I just enjoyed playing with the medium of encaustic and not really planning to do anything in particular. I got carried away with playing with the colour and the technique. When I had finished it, my first piece that is, I realised that it looked like a scene from under the sea. It just so happened at this time that Sky TV had launched the Plastic Oceans Awareness campaign. This inspired me so much that I used that piece of artwork to create fabric shopping bags for life. My experience was that since plastic bags were still being bought, people were paying for them, but they were still using plastic carrier bags, not really making a difference. They just carried on buying them. So I designed shopping bags for life with jewellery. I used a transfer of the artwork I'd produced on encaustic and put it onto fabric shopping bags. Then I made resin bottles and embedded mini postcards in the bottle again, which was taken from that initial piece, and a real message in a bottle to save our seas. This hangs over the handle as shopping bag jewellery, and the idea being that people are more likely to remember to take a designer bag shopping with them. And so I've also designed a cup for life that matches the image on the shopping bag and fits inside the shopping bag with Velcro fasteners. This is part of a project I've run with the Arts and Crafts Group at the Neuro Rehab Department at West Park Hospital. Here are some of the other designs that I did. This is a picture from a Pat's Garden piece of encaustic with which I was playing with some of the other scribing tools. You can see how you can get different techniques etched into the wax using these. This piece of artwork is based on a lavender range of jewellery and art and crafts that I produce. You can see that you can really get into fine drawing with these. Now, this is an interesting piece. The day after I made this one, I was participating in a psychic fair at Equinox, and I was speaking to a lady who was describing a place to me. She said it was a place in Switzerland, and it was by a mountain lake. She said she always went back there in her meditations, as it left her feeling so peaceful. The more she described it to me, the more I recognised the place from the piece of encaustic art that I produced the previous day. I later emailed across the picture of the lake, and she was amazed, saying it was exactly the spot that she had visited some years ago and returned to in her meditations. Now, landscapes are always fun to watch emerge from your wax on paper, and you can start to use some of the other tools shown in this video to perfect the finer details which embellish your backgrounds. The personal shopping bags and cups for life are available from pottingshed.online. And also from www.jewelry.life. There are also links on there to both Maureen and Keely's work. I personally get all my waxes and papers from the supplier, details of which I've included here. I got the craft iron from eBay. Well, having looked at what you need to get started, I will now leave it to Keely and Maureen to inspire your first efforts with their how-to.